Wilt Chamberlain is regarded by some NBA fans as the greatest NBA player of all time. Some people talk about him in that way, and as far as I've seen from his interviews, he himself thinks that as well. In his interviews, he talks about himself as this unstoppable force that would be able to average 50 or even 60 points a game in today's NBA.
The 25-year-old Wilt Chamberlain, transplanted into today's NBA. What do you?
You see, with the new rules, which are all slanted to help the offense. Now, when I get the ball, instead of having 2 and 3 people and Russ all at me at the same time, I'm by myself with one guy. I would love it. I would love it. 50 points, maybe 60 points, maybe 70 points a game.
Wilt won 2 NBA titles and had a few seasons with some incredible averages. In the 1961-62 NBA season, he averaged over 50 points per game and 25.7 rebounds, which by today's comparison is staggering. Wilt played pretty much in the same era as Bill Russell and averaged 30 points and 28.2 rebounds versus Bill Russell himself in 94 games between them. And Bill Russell is regarded as one of the best defensive players ever. As great and sure of himself as Wilt Chamberlain is, he has been asked and made many statements regarding Michael Jordan and his supposed GOAT status and more. Here are those statements, and I have to say I was very surprised by the credit Wilt gave Michael in his answers. See for yourself.
Michael Jordan is one of those rare specimens that could have played at any particular time and is a gifted athlete who is using those gifts in basketball incredibly so. He has been the liaison between something that's not so good and making it great for all the rest. I think that almost every man in the NBA should give him 10% of their checks. He's 6'7" and he's like 197 pounds. Coming into what we call our domain, the pivot for us big guys, would not been very wise of Michael, if he was playing during our time. So we would say, Michael, as long as you do all those fancy things outside of where we are, that's fine. So it wouldn't have been good for Michael. I don't think. I know he'd been crushed.
Really? He just wouldn't have worked back then?
No, he would have came in there once or twice.
What about the 360-degree whip-around dunk? What would people have thought of that at the time?
Well, you know what? I'm glad you said that because, you see, the mentality of the fan today is wonderful and they've learned to accept showbiz.
Right.
And Michael is the epitome of showbiz, along with that great talent. During my time, if you did a 360, first of all, the opposition would take it as an insult that you would try to do something like that against them. The coach on your own team, if you weren't at least 90,000 points ahead, would bench you. And the fans will look at you like, well, he's the biggest hot dog in the world. But now in Chicago, if he doesn't give you one of those 360s you're talking about, even though their team is 90 points ahead, they're looking for something spectacular. But probably the only guy who's worth helping in basketball, the money that he's making, and maybe he should get 10% of everyone's salary, is Michael Jordan. Understand? And I mean, I don't say that these guys shouldn't go out there and try to get what they should get, but after a while, there becomes a limit, and it makes it look bad for all the rest of the world, so to speak.
Michael Jordan, and yet it bothers you when people talk about him as being the greatest player of all time.
Well, it bothers me because we all have our opinions, and I don't think that, commensurate with what he's doing, what he's done, and how the game is going today, that he's better than Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, Bill Russell, a number of people.
The greatest scorer of all time? Not even. Would you even give him that?
Well, you see, what people don't remember was that my first 7 years, I scored a lot of points. Then I stopped scoring on my own volition. I tried to do other things. I was asked to do other things, and that's what I did. For the last 7 years, it wasn't about points to me. It was about trying to do other things. So when they compare me with Michael's averaging 31 points for his lifetime. I averaged about 30 points for a lifetime. But I stopped scoring. Understand? Like I'm saying, so if I had continued to score, I would probably be averaging 40 points for my whole lifetime. Does that make me the best scorer? I really don't know. But one thing I do know, that all the years while I was usually scoring all those points, I was leading the league in percentile shooting. And that's also important because if you take all the shots, then you should be making the highest percentage. I mean, there are guys like Charles Barkley who shoot 54, 55%. If he shot as much as Michael, he'd be scoring more points.
What about when you see a guy like Michael Jordan? Do you ever say to yourself, am I better than him? Do you consider yourself...
Yeah, is he better than you were?
It's different eras. I see Michael Jordan as this. I see all the money being paid to these guys out there,
Right.
And I think that Michael Jordan should get about 10% of every guy's contract.
Right, because he's made basketball
he's
exciting.
made basketball exciting and made it what it is. And so when young guys like this boy Iverson, who comes out for Philadelphia and says that he has no respect for anybody, whatever, he should be taking his head off to Michael Jordan and saying, here, whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know that basketball is a team game.
Right.
And you've already made Michael number one. But if you had to have Wilt against Michael, my prime and his prime, how much money would you be willing to bet?
Wow. You think you could have beaten Michael in your prime? He would take you outside. He shoots from the three-point arc. Then you try to come on and get him, he'd dribble around you.
I run the 109.5. I have a 52 vertical, bench press almost 600 pounds. Michael would probably be going
Wait a
to the
minute,
basket.
600 pounds?
600 pounds.
I think you're
600
exaggerating.
pounds.
You're out of your mind.
We all exaggerate a little bit, but this case, I'm going the other way.
And now Michael Jordan and you, for a while, went back and forth. I think there's a mutual respect after you guys met and stuff like that. I contend Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player who ever lived. I would put you number two, only because you only won 2 championships. He played below the rim, and you basically played above the rim.
I thought Michael was known for playing above the rim.
He shoots now the jump shots. He's going to win 5 world championships, and you had players on your team that you could have won
I have
more.
a friend of mine. I have a friend of mine who I talk to about once a week. You know what he says about Michael's 4 championships? He doesn't say anything about it. Because he has 11.
Bill Russell. But this is amazing.
And you don't, wait a minute, and you don't say he's the greatest because he has 11 championships. Casey Jones has 10. I don't think you can predicate how great a guy really is or because he has championships. There's a lot of guys on those championship teams who've done nothing. Michael happens to be, if you want to say Michael's the greatest, I think he deserves all the accolades that you really want. I think the man has done more for basketball than any one individual.
Even you?
Any one individual. And I'm also saying, too, for those players out there today who maybe don't quite respect Michael as they should, almost all of them should be giving about 10% of their salaries to Michael because they, that's who they owe it to. You understand?
And 10 more percent maybe to Wilt.
Right? No, really. You understand? And he, if you read my book, which I hope we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about when we come back.
Okay, if you read my book, you will understand that I say a great many things about Michael. But one of the things I say about Michael that I truly believe in is that when the man steps on the court, you're going to get 100% from Michael Jordan, and that's all you can ask for from any athlete.